County Charter Commission to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Fritz,
Here.
Commissioner Smallridge,
Here.
Commissioner Emmert, Commissioner Isbell,
Here.
Commissioner White, Commissioner Meade,
Here.
Commissioner Bochamp, Chairman Stonezucker.
Present.
5 and 3 absent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, would you please stand for the prayer led by Commissioner Isbell and the pledge by Commissioner Emmett.
Oh, most gracious and kind and heavenly Father, thank you so much for the many blessings that you give us, Father God. Thank you for the gift of salvation, Father. Father God, I ask that you'll just guide us and direct us this day, Father God, as we do the will of the people. And thank you for the opportunity to serve these people. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of the flag. Hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Next be the approval of the March 22nd minutes.
Move for approval.
Motion.
I do have a couple of comments, okay? It's not there's something technically wrong, but I think that we could represent ourselves better. Like that last meeting we had, I thought we got an awful lot done. Okay, we made a lot of decisions and a way to go on things, but we didn't actually do a lot of voting on things. We just kind of agreed, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. As a result, the minutes are only required to note things that we voted on. Okay, but you can put other things, and I recommend that we do add some other things of note that we do. Because just ask me, do you think this sounds like a good representation of what the meeting really did? Discussion of proposed charter, Article 1 to Article 5, no action taken. See what I'm saying? Man, we got a lot done that day. We had a lot of actions were taken, but we didn't vote on things, and so it wasn't required to be there. I just feel like that doesn't really give the flavor of the meeting, that we got a little briefing and then we took no action. Anyhow, because I feel like, my old comment, but actually a lot of action was taken. It was a 3-hour meeting, and I felt like we made incredible progress during that meeting. And so to say no action taken is the description of what we did, just seemed like I could have just said, numerous things were mentioned, that there were decisions made. The thing about Emmerich, I think that should have been in the meeting, in the minutes. That was, to me, part of the meeting. That we were gonna ask what his intentions were. You had said you would do that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I took care of that.
Mr. Chairman.
We do have, this right here that we worked off it. Is this, can we not include this into our minutes?
It's in there. What we can do to help.
Oh, that is attached with the minutes?
I know she has a copy. Did you put it with the minutes, the draft? What we can do today is Gavin has made those changes that we talked about.
Yeah.
And that, when he goes over them, if you don't mind, read this section.
Sure.
And then at the end, we'll vote on a motion that includes all those sections. Is that okay, instead of taking a whole bunch of votes? We move fast when we do it informally.
Oh, I agree.
And then.
I have no problem with the way we ran the meeting. I thought it was a great meeting.
Well,
At the very end, it's up to you, but at the very end, we'll read those sections
the
off.
thing about it is, we're gonna, when we do this, it's gonna come up and there'll be 2 more votes on the whole thing.
Mhm. You're working with a draft right now.
Yes. So I can see it both ways, but when I looked at it, Steve, I thought, just like you did, and then I thought about, well, we'll have a vote on a draft, and then we'll have a final vote at a later meeting, so.
It doesn't matter to me,
Yeah.
but, I mean, we can, put down there. If you don't wanna do it that way, we can put it items for discussion, but this is pretty much getting close to your final version tonight.
I think so, yeah. A few little tweaks and we should be on the
Yeah, cause
way.
I'm gonna say after, what we accomplished last week, we should, come close to wiping it out tonight.
We didn't finish,
Right.
remember?
Yeah, that's
But,
what I'm saying, though, but we came pretty close.
We came close, yes, sir.
I mean, only thing we didn't finish is, we still got the private acts to go through and, things like that, but this part of the document, we came pretty close to finishing up.
Yes, sir.
But, we've, go along with, Commissioner Mead, if you wanted to include this, just to show people, if they wanna pull up our, see what we've done.
I mean, that's an easy way to have the minutes, just that they don't reflect no action taken.
Mhm.
I mean, we just spent
Well,
over 2
I-
hours
Just-
here, or two
Well,
and a half hours.
I don't think we need to back up and put it in these minutes. I think we need to put it in
Right,
Yeah.
the April
okay.
meeting.
And the second very minor comment I have is, the next meeting will be on April 4th, 2022. I think it should have said at 6 PM, room 312.
Okay.
But,
It's on the hall.
yeah, that's all.
And,
Neither one is a fire.
okay, thank you. All right, motion to approve the minutes. Any other discussion? All in favor, let, sing aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Next is appearance of citizens. And seeing none, we'll move on. Mr. Yeager,
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'll have Gavin go over the changes,
okay?
and, we'll get this knocked out.
If I may ask real quick, do you wanna go back over Articles 1 through 5 and the changes that I've made in that? Or do you wanna pick up where we left off and go through 6 through 9?
Go through 6 through 9.
Okay.
And then we'll come back next time and get those other ones. Because that's all you printed, right?
Yeah, I think it'll fit in now. Something that I noticed as I was going through all this other stuff is some information about the veteran service officer, which is done under a state law. Does that need to be, the way we run that, does that need, that, it seems like that, under a charter, that should be at least mentioned. That we have a full-time hired,
Right, it's on that list that I
Yeah.
gave you of all our offices,
Yeah.
last year, we'll try to incorporate that. But if you look, there was a private act on our veteran service office. And,
Mhm.
it's a little bit different. But Gavin, you've got Article 1, you wanna just go through all those?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
We'll get
sure.
those knocked
Yeah,
out, is that okay? He'll start with all the changes that we've made, starting with, well, I guess, we've approved the names of the members, and
Correct.
just start from there, and we'll,
Well, yeah, on that, I'll say that I've changed Mr. Isbell's name to reflect only one L.
Could we get a page number?
it's covered, the cover.
It-
Right here.
Yes, sir, it starts on 2 little I on the next page.
Okay.
That can be changed by you all. And I've also listed Mr. Mead's name as Stephen. And changed Mr. Hammett's name back to Steve. We're beginning to add a few page numbers in the table of contents, but as you know, we'll do that last.
those page numbers, is that correct, that the first page without notation is I, and the first page, the table of contents is I, or should that be single I, and then starting on the table of contents?
That was intentional. Now, whether you want it that way or not,
No,
is up to you all.
I just wanted to make sure it was.
Sure. Yeah, generally, the first page numbers, I
You don't put
leave
it on.
off. I think,
Bear with us here tonight. As you approve this section, I'm gonna turn to Annette and just tell her so she can write down the page number, the section number. So far, right now, there's no problems on the cover sheet, is that correct? Cover sheet's okay. All right. Table of contents, did you have a change there, Kevin?
I've just added a few page numbers,
Okay.
as far as I could at this
Okay.
point. Page 6, no changes. Page 7, section 2.02, there was deleted the language in that comment box. There was a discussion about the legislative body and the county mayor having, if there was any question as to whether the administrative powers or the executive powers were going to be exercised between the two of them, then it would be the mayor. That's been deleted to be separated out.
That's section 2.02.
Correct. Page 8, subsection B of section 2.02. Or mayor was deleted there, part of the discussion, to only reflect the finance committee or the finance director.
Okay.
The next change was in subsection H on page 8. If you'll see there, about 3/4 down that subsection, any employee of the county, per the discussion of the last meeting. I don't want to go too fast here.
Catching it. That's section H.
No, the one right before that.
Is B. Both on page 8.
I think there was some discussion last meeting about employee of the county legislative body versus employee of the county, and that's been
Right.
changed for employee of the county. Section 2.02, subsection I, from what I could tell from the video of last meeting, for good cause was to be revisited, so that's been left as is at the current time. Excuse me. Section 2.03 on page 9, subsection A, there was deleted there language that seemed to indicate that voting for the county commission members was going to be for like a seat A and a seat B. That's been changed. Read that inserted language there in red and see if that does it, or if you want to be more specific, or if you have any suggested changes.
I'm good with that.
I am too.
You following it, Ned? 2.03, subsection A.
And you know what's so unreal is that this is how it's always been for probably the existence of this county, and the number of people out there that still think you can only vote for one person.
Oh, yeah. Well, you actually, you can vote for one if you want.
I know you can, but there's a number of people that think that you can only
That's right,
allow to
there are
vote
two
for
openings
one.
to vote, yeah.
Subsection 2.03, no change was made, but I will note, I've highlighted here, there was discussion last time about getting rid of the one-year district requirement. There was a hypothetical brought up about a potential candidate running for the county commission in a seat after he or she had moved, going to another district and being appointed. So there was a discussion on that about maybe deleting that one-year requirement, if anybody recalls. So I have not changed anything there, but I've noted that.
What's the desire of this commission on that? What the question is do you want to impose a one-year residency in the district, not the county? Of course, the county is state law, but it's the district that you run in. So, for instance, the situation we had with our chairman, he moved, he was disqualified from that district by state law, but fortunately, we had an opening come up and we were able to get VL back. And he was voted on by the county commission. If this was in place, he hadn't lived in that new residence for a year, so he wouldn't be eligible to run.
I would, I had lived there for a year.
Yeah, you'd have.
We didn't have meetings.
Yeah, remember we had
Okay.
that long gap where
Okay,
we,
well, you understand the scenario where this plays
Yeah.
out.
yeah.
What it's saying is, if you are running for a county commission seat in a district, you have to live in that district for 1 year.
That would apply to an appointment to fill somebody's term also.
Right.
Yes,
It doesn't spell that out, but
yeah, that's a good point.
I just think you eliminate possibly a very eligible person that would be a good selection.
Well, in the other sense, though, is the whole purpose of running for each individual district is for the people in your district to know the candidate that you're running for. And if you appoint someone in there, then you may have someone that you appoint that no one in that district knows who your person is.
Well, they still have to reside in that district at the time they're selected, but.
Well,
I
I
mean-
mean, if I moved to Oak Ridge right now, then you appoint me in Oak Ridge, then how many people in Oak Ridge gonna know me?
Can you add in here, person seeks election or appointment? You know, is everybody okay? Bob brought up a good point
Yeah,
there.
it should say our appointment.
So it'd be on the third line.
Sure.
Well, if we didn't have that, if we left it for 1 year in the county, and, I don't know if we'd have to
That's
change
what the state
anything.
law is now.
Just 1 year in the county, and you can
Right.
move to another district and
Right.
run. I don't have any problem with that, but
Okay, taking it out,
Yeah, taking out the
okay.
1 year residency in the district,
Okay,
but stay with the
you
county
wanna-
like
You want
state
to vote on
law.
this one right now?
It also makes it smoother if we move districts around.
I would vote on it now.
yeah, I agree.
I think that, and Steve's got a good point, as we talked about last time, what if your district boundaries change? You remember that time where,
Well, that's mentioned in here.
yeah, 6 and 7, they went over the hill, the ridge there, and took in like Grandview, and that had been in Jerry White's district for years. So, anyway, so you want to settle this now with a motion, and
Motion to delete the 1 year.
Do I hear a second?
Well, we're not eliminating the
For-
1 year in the county
Not in the county,
Yeah.
but for the district.
for the residency in the district.
Right.
Yeah. Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? If not, Annette, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Fritz,
No.
Commissioner Smallridge,
no.
Commissioner Isbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Meade,
Yes.
and Chairman Stonezapper.
Yes,
Okay.
motion fails.
What do we have to have for this kind of a committee, this kind of a commission?
I mean, there's 8 up to 5.
We have to have 5 for it to pass, so it
Yes.
doesn't pass.
Yeah, motion failed.
Okay, you can always come back to that.
Could be.
There's no problem.
Just leave it like it is.
Leave it like it is. Go ahead.
Section 2.04 has been totally redrafted. This is designed or drafted to attempt to maintain the status quo of the current resolution 1408-509 on the salary of the county commissioners, but give the permissible option to the county commission to further set or fix their salary by resolution, which is how it works under state law.
So in other words, the way it's set right now, every time the state gives a raise to under the charter, the county commissioners still continue to get their.
Yeah, he's referenced that resolution.
Yeah.
I know it's minimal, but still, I mean, small adjustment helps the,
I think the referencing the resolution pulls the whole thing in there.
okay.
That's what, I was trying to do, at least.
As good as you
You see that, Annette, 2.04?
We figured that was a small one for the commission several years ago.
Going on to page 14, section 210, subsection A. There was previously language in there stating that a resolution or ordinance had to be presented to the county mayor unless it was for the borrowing of money or the issuance of bonds and notes. I think we settled on the county mayor having the ability to veto the indebtedness of the county, and so that was stricken. And you'll see that deleted bubble right there. In subsection B, I've highlighted this right here. I think there was discussion last time about making the time limit for the mayor's veto, reducing it down to 3 days. Correct me if I'm wrong. The state statute doesn't give a, from what I have seen, the state statute doesn't give a time limit for the mayor to veto, but it does say if it's not vetoed within 10 days,
10 days.
then it's effective. So I didn't know if we could, do you think that the 10 days has to stay, or
I think
we can affirmatively say?
that 10 days is what we've been doing. I don't see a problem with it unless you guys do. I like the fact that we're back to where we were before. Every resolution is presented to the mayor, as it should be. And then she can decide within 10 days whether or not she's going to veto it. You can reduce that to 3 days or whatever, but that's more consistent with state law.
Yeah, just like the governor.
Mhm.
I don't know if any action needs to be taken on that, but I did want to note it. But it's in there now as 10 days unless you want it changed to 3.
210B, 2.10B.
How about that? Can we vote on it?
No, we'll do them all at the end.
Moving on, Article 3 on page 15. Section 3.02, I've deleted the sentence in there that says that the county mayor is the chief fiscal officer of the county to more not conflict with the County Financial Management System Act of 1981. I've deleted a few provisions here that to me and to John and to Sarah at our office seemed or may appear to have conflicted with the County Financial Management System Act, and that was previous number B, requiring the county mayor to prepare and submit to the legislative body budgets, financial reports, etc. Examine regularly the accounts, records, and operations of every department, office, and I'm sorry, that's subsection C as well, department, office, and agency. From my reading of the County Financial Management System Act of 1981, those are the duties of the finance director or the finance committee, and so I think those were properly deleted. Subsection F as well, maintain all accounting systems for the county, accounting records, exercising financial and budgeting control. That was deleted. I have left other provisions in as also, so you can see there if you think any of those conflict with the Fiscal Management Act of 1981, let me know. Subsection E, I think there was discussion on this one last time about, for example, the HR department being a standalone department created by the county commission. I think we had better address the resolution, or John seems to think that we should address the resolution and ratify the resolution, and that may cure this. But if you otherwise want to, we can put in there, except as otherwise created by resolution of the county.
Well,
legislative
there's also some that are controlled by private act.
body. Okay,
So it's not just resolution.
okay,
But other than those, I think the mayor has the ability to appoint any members
okay,
outside the ones that are created by county commission, by resolution, or private act, or general state law. But other than that,
Okay.
that's correct.
okay. To subsection H, still under section 3.03 here, I've deleted sole. There was discussion last time about county mayor having the sole power and authority to enter into contracts, and that was not desired, so that's been deleted. Also, there was the there was the language that on all contracts in an amount greater than $50,000, the mayor should obtain approval from the legislative body. Being the County Financial Management System Act being as it is, with the mayor and others on the finance committee, that was deemed superfluous, so that was stricken as well. And also L, develop purchasing regulations. That was also deleted to more bring the charter in line with the Management Act. Moving on, section 306, subsection A. There was deleted here language stating that department heads had to be residents of the county. That was deleted per the last meeting. And there was language change here to which are, giving the mayor the power to dismiss only those over which he or she has appointed or has control. So that was changed. Nothing changed for the Anderson County Law Director.
Can I go back to?
Yes, sir.
Page 16, item H. I'd just like to hear a comment of the authority to enter into contracts on behalf of Anderson County, but after that, after she enters into a contract, that still has to be approved by resolution, by the county commission, doesn't it? No?
No, not always. Remember, I think the purchasing commission is only sending up those that can't be performed within a year period of time for you to approve. Remember, it used to be under the 57 Act, it was before the end of the fiscal year. But the Finance Committee recommended a policy and County Commission adopted it to extend that. So the only time you're going to see a contract, not the only time, most of the time when you see a contract come before you, it's going to be one that has a term that extends beyond 1 year from the date it's executed. Those are the ones that we have to have county commission approval on.
I believe that's the way we want to do it.
Excuse me. Article 4.
Wait a minute. Bob, did you get your question in?
Yes.
Excuse me. Article 4, page 21, very bottom of page 21. Section 4.06. And then on the next page will be the body of the text of that section. This will include the superintendent of roads within the charter, describing the duties, qualifications, oath of office, bond requirements, and compensation, all according to state law, the county uniform highway department. that section adds that. Section 4.07 adds the circuit court clerk. And section 4.08 adds the clerk and master. These two provisions were previously in the charter in Article 5, but these were moved to Article 4, where the other officers were.
Remember, you asked for them to be moved together. Like on, let me go back to the superintendent of roads. There's actually, I guess we can pick it up with the laws of the state of Tennessee. There's actually a private act, too, that appears to be still in effect. And on that county uniform highway law, there's an optional provision for the election of road commissioners. The county commission here appoints the members of the road committee or highway committee. But I think, I want to ask your opinion of this, Gavin, but the superintendent of roads shall be governed by the Constitution and the laws of the state of Tennessee and this county charter. The laws of the state of Tennessee, would that encompass private acts?
Off the top of my head,
Those are passed by the General Assembly.
yes, I think so.
That's state
They're
law.
signed by the governor, passed by the General Assembly. Okay.
But, and I will note, it's also, the county uniform highway law that this county has in effect right now is also later included, the text of the private act is later included in section 8 point,
Good.
8.20. So we'll get to that, later tonight, I guess. And we can look at that. It's just the text of the private act as it is currently. But I know that you wanted the officers listed as well, so there's the two provisions that are in different areas of the charter.
Right.
So I've added circuit court clerk and clerk and master. The district attorney general, the 7th judicial district, has been added. I will note the duties that have been described, or my description of the duties of the district attorney general, the district public defender in section 410, those came from, the description of those, the duties of those offices came from an attorney general opinion in Tennessee that basically described what the duties were. So if you want those amended or changed at all, I'm happy to do that, but that was a general resource for me. So I've included the district public defender in section 410, changed section 411 for elections and filing vacancies. Section 5.01 judiciary, page 24, subsection B. The change that I've made here is that last sentence: any general sessions, juvenile courts, and child support magistracies existing at the time of the adoption of this charter shall expressly continue unless and until such time as they are modified by the legislative body. I guess I had a question as to whether we wanted the judiciary listed, the offices listed, just like the trustee and just like the district public defender. I've gone ahead and not done that. The charter statutes are clear that we can't affect the judiciary of the county. In my opinion, and I think in John's opinion, a simple sentence stating that the general sessions and juvenile courts and child support magistrate shall continue, it will suffice to keep the status quo. But I'm happy, and we're happy to include those officers in Article 4, if you all wish.
You following him? What he's saying is he can list all the courts specifically, or we can just go with this broad sentence here, since we can't really affect the judicial system in the county. It says any general sessions, juvenile courts, and child support magistracies existing at the time of the adoption of this charter shall expressly continue unless and until such time as they are modified by the legislative body. There's one issue there. The child support magistrate, really is contingent upon the state keeping it here.
Okay.
That's really not, the county doesn't affect that much. We provide offices and stuff like that, but the state decides whether or not they're going to give us a child support magistrate depending upon the amount of caseload they have.
Sure.
So that's a little bit
I
of
will,
technical change.
I'll correct that.
Everybody okay with the way he's got it?
I don't
Should
have
that
a-
have an introductory clause, like in that the charter is not empowered to regulate the judicial branch? Or, I mean, so I'm saying just to kind of, because that's really what we're saying, right? Because state law does not allow the charter to regulate
Well,
the
I
courts,
think,
the judicial, then this is, then we're gonna not do that. This is kind of what we got.
we have a situation here where I'm positive we can't affect circuit court, criminal court,
Sure.
clerk and master. But the general sessions and the juvenile courts are created by private act. So that may be a bit outside the scope of that provision in the charter laws, but we're not really affecting them at all. We're just
No.
naming them, that they do exist, but I think what Steve's asking is putting a rationale why we can't do this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, instead of just saying, gee, this is how we're gonna do it, we're saying that because we're limited by state law in the regulation of the courts, then this is what we do, and this is how it's done here, or how, I mean, you've got better wording than I would have.
Well, the one thing about that is, if you start doing it on one area, you're gonna have to go back and support a lot of areas with an introductory sentence like that. I don't know if you wanna do that, but that kind of,
Well, most of the other areas we're stating what the authority is for us to do it this way.
Exactly. well,
But we aren't changing anything.
no, no. It's just basically a recitation of the way it is now. Somebody mentioned the status quo, that's the way it is.
I just don't wanna get caught in a situation where the state comes back and says, well, you didn't address this in your charter, therefore your charter has to be revised. Like, I think some other people have had happen in the past.
We're not it's not an issue of us not addressing an issue. I don't see it that way. Bob, did you have a question?
Yeah, under item, that's same item B, just for my clarification, I guess, says the legislative body may by ordinance create such additional divisions of the general sessions court. What would be an example of like that?
Another general sessions court, general sessions two.
Okay, that's what that,
Yeah.
so there's
Mhm.
not a separate,
That normally has to be by private
Okay,
act or
yeah.
general law of
Yeah.
local application, but that may be a change right there to the judiciary, because that's saying the legislative body may do it. I think, I can't think of an example that we've, all those courts are created by private act or general law.
So
Just gotta make sure we don't
the
have.
county
anything to
legislative
change.
body doesn't have the authority to start those, they just have the authority to put in a private
Private
act
act.
to get it passed.
Mhm.
does
But
that
if-
need to be clarified?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do
Yeah,
some
I'll,
work right there.
I'll research it a bit more and
Yeah.
see how that works and how we can move forward on that. Any other discussion on that?
But, you know, you mentioned it would have to be done by private act. If you have a charter government, the commission has to approve the changes to the charter before it can be voted on.
Certainly. But what I'm saying is, I've always been under the impression that the Constitution prohibited any court that was not formed by the General Assembly. So one way or the other, general law or private
Right.
act,
Right,
are you liable to
I agree.
come in here and say, we want a hunting court or something like that? Now, cities have this power that, I believe counties do now, environmental court. That's how they adjudicate in Oak Ridge, their property maintenance cases. You wanna take a look at that and
Yeah.
make sure that
Definitely.
the charter, the county commission would have the ability under the charter to create a court outside of a private act or general law of local application,
Of course.
or it could be general law of general application.
Well, I will say, the language was taken from, I know Knox County's charter and maybe Shelby County's charter as well.
Mhm.
So if it's in there, they may be doing something wrong then. But I agree, that needs to be looked at.
Let's just look at it. I don't want anything to
Right,
look like we're trying to adjust the judiciary in any way.
right.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
I do have one more question too before we leave this page 24. Even though we didn't act on it, several years ago, we had an operational audit. And their recommendation of the operational audit was to address actions that the commission should take towards the juvenile court and or zero sessions courts, which we did not act on. There's now, when Commissioner Alley was on the commission at that time, he was a strong advocate of the Justice Center. And they did a lot of looking into it, working on it and everything like that, and it sort of, because of the cost and stuff, it sort of died off. And of course, he's left us now. We had a far better place. But this talk of a Justice Center is really, getting some more discussion and talk, things of that nature. I know a Justice Center would combine location of a lot of different things, and will hopefully eliminate a cost by putting everything in one central location. Your sheriff office, your courts, your DA, everything in one central location. That's not gonna be my lifetime here as a commissioner, and then maybe not a bunch of several others, because it's gonna be futuristic things, but, I was talking here about the abolishing the divisions. Does that still leave the door open for future, commissions, whatever, if they needed to make adjustments or changes and, we went the route of the, Justice Center in the future to make these type of adjustments and stuff, outside
The Justice Center, I think, correct me, Chuck, if I'm getting this wrong, the Justice Center is not a new court, okay?
That's right.
But it might
It's a new
make the
facility
need
for the
for-
city court.
It's basically taken Chancery, Criminal Circuit, and maybe a General Sessions Court, putting them up there. It's not creating a new court in any way.
But it might eliminate
more
the need,
consolidation.
like I say, it might eliminate the need for the Oak Ridge Court being in Oak Ridge, because right now or the juvenile court altogether, by combining things.
Now, we would have to.
That's private act.
A private act, see, that second General Sessions Court is created by private act. Our General Sessions Court in general is created by private act. And it's amended to allow another one in Oak Ridge. So what would have to happen there is that private act would have to be amended.
I mean, again, that's gonna be so far futuristic things.
Whether we have a charter or we don't, that would have to be
Right.
amended.
Yeah, by private act.
Yes, sir. Okay, you ready to move on?
Yeah, I think it, just for clarification, is the state determines what courts there are. The county legislative body can have some control over what building they're in.
Right.
But we can't determine, we can't make up courts or change courts or.
We can ask
I
the
mean, that's
General
all-
Assembly to give us
Yeah,
another
so
general session or
yeah,
juvenile
Under
or
a
something.
private act, we can get permission,
You're
but
correct.
we still have authority, over all the buildings that belong to the county.
Mhm.
And so if we decide to use, this is a court, then this can be used as a court. If we decide we're gonna use across the street as a court,
Mhm.
that it's the same court, but the building they're in can be modified over
You're
time.
correct.
Right.
You're correct.
On page 26, section 6.02, subsection F. If you'll recall, there was some discussion, there was a reference in this provision that I think the director of schools would be the executive officer of the board, and we are all wondering what that term means.
Mhm.
I've asked John, and he has no idea. So I think I would say that it meant something to the effect of what Chairman Stonecipher was saying, that the chief executive officer of the school system. But I guess we'll never know. But in any event, I've changed that subsection to read, as was stated, chief executive officer of the Anderson County School System. We've actually separated these two sentences out and created a subsection G to more clearly separate those two officers. John felt that the way it was drafted made it look like, or may have given the appearance that the director of schools was the chair of the board. So in order to prevent any sort of appearance that that's the case, we've separated those out.
It's a good job.
Well, I appreciate it. Next page, page 27. I think at this point is where we left off last time, Article 7. So this is, these comments haven't been changed, although until you get to section 817, 818, that some new stuff was added there from 2 weeks ago. So this is new stuff that you all have not reviewed yet in a meeting. Section 7.01 talks about the primary election that's required. There was some discussion, I guess it was the February commission meeting, about how the Charter Commission wanted the constables and the county legislative body members to, their elections to remain nonpartisan. If we drafted it to include, to specify partisan elections, this clause is applicable only to partisan elections, I don't know if that would cure the concern there.
Where you at? I'm sorry.
Section 7.01, sorry.
I thought it was taken care of by state law recently,
It is for a school board.
but it's not for
Not for
commission.
commission and constables, no.
No,
It's
I
still
think you might be talking about the private act we sent down. To my knowledge, it's not been acted on. But the schools are, there's a couple bills floating around down there that have been county commission partisan. But what happened this past time is there's a provision in state law for the local executive parties to call for a primary. That's what happened. Okay.
So if we adopted, if we did this, for the selection of candidates for all partisan county offices.
Right, and we do have partisan, the fee offices,
Yeah, everything partisan.
everything
except for
except county commission and constables.
constables.
They've been partisan for some time. You can go partisan, nonpartisan, or a blend like we've got now.
So, if I may, my
Go ahead.
intention with this provision was to, so it's entitled primary election required. If there's not going to be a primary in a nonpartisan election, I've changed it to state there shall be a primary election for all partisan county offices. That's
Mhm.
the only change.
I like
There.
that.
Yeah.
And then clear it up somewhere else if you want, and that's fine unless you want complete nonpartisan elections in the county, the way he's got it worded here. If you're just looking to keep status quo, then that, we'll need to reference somewhere that county commission and constables are nonpartisan. But it's entirely up to you.
Anybody have a preference?
Well, our talk the whole time for, to keep our, charter like our present form of government.
Yeah.
And, our present form of government is, everything is,
Nonpartisan.
nonpartisan, I mean, for the whole county is, basically partisan except for the commission and
Mhm.
constables.
Right. Now, the issue comes up with the school board. That's been done by state law.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't change that.
I think you've got it right, except, at some point, you're gonna have to identify constables and county commissioners as nonpartisan if you wanna keep it the way it is now.
I would vote no.
What?
I would vote no on that.
I understand.
Yeah.
Tim's got his good reasoning.
We'll just leave it
I
like.
think the present law is that apparently we've got partisan elections for everything.
But it's not a present law for county commissioners.
Well, I was
That
basically
was
told
done
if
by
I
the-
wanted to run, I had to decide what I was gonna do.
That was an executive party action, I
That
believe.
was the executive
That's correct.
part of the Republican Party that did that.
Any more questions on this issue?
Leave it that way for right now.
Moving on, section 7, excuse me, 7.02, date of primary. I've tried to draft it in accordance with, I've given a statute citation there, talking about the date of the primary, if there is a primary election.
Mhm.
You did check that this is worded the same as the Tennessee Code annotated section on primaries, because it goes through lengthy words to
Yes,
say
sir.
what they're gonna.
Yes, sir. I think it's 213, 203E3. And I think that last sentence there is permissive. I think, from my recollection of reading state law, I think it's permissive as you want to give the county legislative body the option to alter the date, if that's right, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mhm.
So.
Right now, it's mostly done by the election commission.
Right.
Any questions on 7.02?
Can I go back to 7.01?
Sure.
I thought we were required now in the primaries, even for county commission offices, if you wanted to run Republican or Democrat, there was a primary. Was that not a requirement? I mean, not a requirement, but
Yes.
parties could do that?
Yes, the party executive committee has the ability under state law to call for a primary, and that's what happened. And according to Mr. Stevens' interpretation, remember the Democrats and Republicans did it at first. Then the Democrats said they made a mistake, and they changed it to call for just certain offices that, like we have now. The Republicans kept theirs in place. Mr. Stevens, who I trust on this, he contacts the state election commission attorneys all the time, says that when one party asks for a primary, the other one gets a primary. So you're looking at, basically it says any major party, I mean, there could be a Tea Party designation or something, but they can call for a primary. And that forces the Democrats to have a primary. But you don't have, independents are not a recognized major party. They don't have an local executive committee, so they don't have to have a primary.
See, as in now, we're having a Republican primary and a Democratic primary in May,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but no one chose to run as a Democrat.
I think there was one caucus, didn't they?
Yes.
There was one that caucused in District 7, I think.
Yeah.
But we can put it in the charter to have nonpartisan, and then the nonpartisan and no primaries for the commissions and the,
Constable.
Yeah, there is, I had to go back and research this. There's an attorney general opinion that allows that. Heck, down in, I think it's Shelby County, they've got their DA and 2 state offices that, you know, we'd never touch as nonpartisan. And they've upheld that. And there's several provisions around the state, but right now we're under that default statute that the executive committees can call. I think you're liable to have a situation, you know, who knows how this is going to work out in the future, where you might have numerous people. I know Tim is concerned about so many people like in Campbell County running, that the primary helps whittle those down. Well, you could have a lot of people running as independents with no primary. You could have 7 or 8 in one district. So it's a difficult issue, it really is. Any other questions? Bob, did that?
Yeah,
Did you-
I think Commissioner Fritz, my question was, as he pointed out, you got a law that says you can run, you have to have primaries, right?
No.
no.
You've got a law that says it's permissive for the local executive party, for either the Democrats or the Republicans to call for a primary. And that's what happened here. It's not a law that says you gotta have a primary. It doesn't work like that. They have the ability to call. That's your local executive party.
But if they can call, if they can call for an election, and we're gonna put in here, we're gonna run nonpartisan, that seems like.
Well, that's, evidently, that's one provision of charters that will hold up, because the way I understand it is that's a permissive statute. That's not a mandatory statute. Like it's been here for years, they always had this ability, they just never chose to exercise it. I'm talking about the local executive parties. So that's permissive law, that's not in direct contradiction to a state law.
Thank you.
Section 7.03 on qualifying petitions. And the dates in relation to a presidential election year. I've cited some statutes there to show that this provision has been drafted in accordance with those statutes and the state law.
Could the legislative body pass an ordinance that says we're going to give the election commission the ability to set all these dates?
My sense is yes, but I would have to check on that further if that's something you want to do. I think it's possible.
Nothing needs to be written in the charter about it, but
Yeah, 'cause I'm thinking that, I just read the state statute that very specifically say, this is the dates that will be the primaries, and this is the dates that will be the general elections. in August, and this, you know, then the first Monday in November.
That's
or
the way
whatever it is.
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It'll say first Monday or first Tuesday. Well, you don't know the date.
Yeah.
And,
Tuesday
but-
following the first Monday.
Yeah.
Section 7.05. This is, I think, gonna require action taken. This was the recall provision in the charter, page 28. I've left it in here, from the discussion, we had in February. I don't think any action was taken to get rid of that and simply, stay with state law and the ouster statutes. So I haven't taken any action on that. It's still in there. If you all want to discuss that, that's up to you all.
That's on the percentages you're talking about.
On the percentages and I think the section in general as well.
This is a change. Everybody realize that. Right now, we're basically confined to the ouster statute and a couple other statutes. But this is a change. This is a recall of elected county officials. And I think you need to move into that very cautiously. And make sure if you do decide to go this route that you're not looking at a situation of 50%, because that's easily obtainable.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be something, a higher threshold. You could have a political issue where one party may control over 50% of the votes in the county. And they can all of a sudden recall every Democrat or every Republican.
Yeah.
And that's pretty dangerous.
I think when we talked about this before, I think we talked about 75% or something.
Well,
Something fairly
I
high.
had one of mine as 66% or something like that, but that's, and 15%,
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
at a 15% minimum of voters on the petition. Okay. This
Why do we want to change it?
Yeah, it was,
What, do we have to put this in? Why can't we just use the ouster?
We can, but as I say, this is new, it's something
Yeah.
we've never had, so it'll need to be explained to the voters. And also, maybe, just looking at both sides, the threshold for ouster is very high. But it may be, you want a high threshold to remove an elected official.
I want to remove politics from it altogether, regardless, as you said, you know, we're, just cause,
That's
you
why it
know.
needs to be a high percentage.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's just one thing I don't like about anything when it comes, you know, I don't want no politics involved in it whatsoever.
Okay, right now, we're saying no to 7.05, is that what I hear you? You wanna vote on that, or you wanna just,
I think we need to have it, but it needs to be a very high threshold compared to the ouster thing, which basically it takes a year or two to act if you use the ouster bid. Does that sound fair?
no. The ouster law allows it to be moved up on the docket. And,
Maybe I'm just confused because we had when we had a recent issue, we also had COVID and a bunch of other things going on.
What about 2/3, or is that high enough?
75%.
You know, that's what we use for,
yeah, that's what I said, I had my notes here, 66% or something, if you wanted to go with
6
this.
and 2.
Well, 2/3 is 75, so,
What's the pleasure of the?
Seems like there ought to be some mechanism for dealing with egregious behavior, you know, or something to
Well, you're gonna have to show, in ouster, you're gonna have to show misconduct in office.
This is just lack of popularity.
This could be, that's my concern about it. Or a political takeover. And that's why, if you do go with this, I'm like Bob, I think you need a very high threshold on it.
If I may,
No, go ahead,
one
Gary.
comment. This was, I don't think it was originally included within Knox County's charter whenever it was adopted. I think there was a situation they had in Knox County where an official had embezzled some funds,
Mhm.
and they had tried to oust him under the statutes, and they couldn't get him out, and so they were stuck with him for, the remaining term, and so this was added. And so it was well received there, but, there's also others in our office who feel that, if you're elected, to your term of office, then you're entitled to that term unless you've, done something that's egregious
Mhm.
under state law, that would warrant you being removed otherwise. So those are our feelings on
Mhm.
it, but they're not,
I see both sides of it. We've actually experienced some of this here.
Well, if it's serious enough to get elected, for people who want you out, then people is gonna vote that way and stuff. And I tend to go with a high percentage and take politics out of it. I lean towards Commissioner Means, and that's 2/3 of 75, so I'd go with
Yeah.
75%.
And if you
Two-thirds
can't
is
get
66.
2/3, it's probably not that egregious.
So I move that we accept the 75%.
Well, that's not 2/3. 2/3 is 66.
Yeah, but I'm 75 is what I'd go for, but
Well, 70, I move that we go with 75% then.
I'll tell you, I have some reservations for this reason. I have seen over the past 25 years, a lot of issues have become highly emotional. And I think, based on that, it would have to be a really high number, or we leave it out.
And it should only apply to elected officials. It's just that.
And
That's
in the last sentence on that is that you can't even do it during the first, some period in office. I was thinking like 1 year or is, I mean, is 6 months long enough? I don't know. What they're saying here is somebody that just got elected is not gonna be immediately thrown out,
Well, that's.
something like this. And it
I
wouldn't
think they're
happen if you
trying
have
to
a high
protect the
threshold
political
anyhow.
issue. They're probably trying to protect politics there. Saying, oh, can't believe this guy got elected, he's not from our party, we control this, we're gonna go after him.
Yeah. Do you think 1 year would be appropriate if we
Well, on the
adopt
other
this?
hand, you may have a situation where something happens that's egregious.
Yeah.
They commit a crime, but that's a lot easier to say in ouster.
Yeah.
But,
Well, does it look like we're heading towards 75%? Because that would have to be really egregious.
You gonna make that a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to make that all of these, the word 75% followed by the numeral 75%. And then that still brings though the question about this last line.
What does it say?
No such position shall be circulated until an official has served X in office.
you've also got to determine how many the additional petition would you have in there 15%
Yeah.
citizens or registered voters have to sign the petition for recall
Oh,
in
yeah.
order to get it on the ballot. So, what was the charter? Had to have so many, certain percentage out of the last governor's election.
Yeah,
Now, here we're talking about 15% of all registered voters. I think that's a pretty high threshold for a petition vote
15%?
of all registered voters.
yeah.
But,
For the Charter Commission, it was 1,776 signatures were required because of the low turnout of the governor's race.
mhm.
And we've got about, I just looked at my list, I think there's 50,000 registered voters
Mhm.
roughly in Anderson County. And so 15% of that's fairly high number.
Yeah, it's up to you.
You know, 7,000 or something instead of 1,700,
Mhm.
if you have it based on the governor's.
Cause I'd make that even higher because of the fact, you know, that, if people are upset and mad, they'd go out here and, try to get a special election, and special elections cost, money.
Hmm.
And we could be turning around and having special elections,
Yeah.
just,
I guess my question is, if it's a constable or school board member or county commissioner, 15%
Of the district.
is a drop in the bucket.
For a district. Because you're looking, these districts really come out to right around 10,000 plus or minus there each. So roughly 1,500 people, signatures on a petition.
So I'd still go with 75, if we want to do it. It
What do you-
shouldn't be easy.
What are you thinking there, Gavin, on a commissioner or constable or a school board member that runs by district? Are only the voters in that district allowed to vote on the recall and sign the recall petition?
Yeah.
Well,
See, because
Yeah.
they're not elected countywide,
right.
and you'd be subjecting them to a recall vote countywide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if only 800 people voted that year, that's 15% of 800.
No, it's not,
No, it's
they're not ones that
registered
voted,
voters.
it's of the registered voters.
Mhm,
That makes it a lot harder.
mhm. But still, you can basically figure it. These districts are around 10,000.
Yeah,
So you're a little less than that. So we're talking about 1,500 signatures from a district.
for a district, yeah. That'd be hard to get.
Take some time.
It would have to be a really egregious, upsetting thing to get that many people to sign a petition, that kind of percentage.
Well, that's what you want.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want.
I think that's the whole intent. You don't want it to use as a political weapon. This is for egregious acts.
And then in the election itself is 75% majority. And so again, it would have to be
It's 3/4.
something that they're really in agreement. Keeping in mind that a lot of people that go vote on things don't even know what they're going to vote on. They go there and they do whatever they want to do. I talk to people coming in and out, and I hear that all the time.
Mhm.
We're gonna have that problem with this charter. People not knowing what it's about.
Does anybody want to make a motion on it?
$75, $15, and 6 months in office. Motion.
Do I hear a
Putting the
second?
numbers in the,
I would,
that would make it excruciatingly hard, but still have it available if something was really egregious.
I don't know, 1,500, I don't know how hard that is.
In a district.
In a district, I know, but 10,000, 15%.
25?
I could live with 25 better than 15, I think. But, and I was, if that motion passes, I would amend it to just take out the last sentence. Or I would recommend.
Mhm.
You know,
No.
something could happen. in
If
the
we're gonna
first-
make it so hard that it's impossible, there's no reason to have it here. Recommend we just remove 705.
So, you withdrawing your motion?
Yes.
Bill?
One less
We don't-
difference we have to explain to the voters.
We don't need a,
The motion would be to delete that and leave it as is with no changes. The way we can't, as we're doing it now.
That's
No,
what we,
Now,
that's
it's
what we said
eliminate
from the
7.05.
beginning. We don't need a motion for that, that's what we said from the beginning,
Right,
no changes.
Right. It's never been adopted. These are drafts, but
so we just delete it. I would second that motion. To delete.
Yeah, so my motion was to delete 705 and we have
You got
a
a
second.
second? All right, now, any discussion on that? I'm gonna vote for it, and I'll tell you why. I think, as much as we've talked about it and looked at it, that if the charter is adopted, if it's voted in by the people, and then they want to add that later on, just like they did, then, you know, if something comes up to where it needs to be, why,
it's a very good point.
then make the change.
What he's saying, the citizens can amend this charter if they so desire.
Any other discussion? Annette, you call the roll?
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Smallridge,
No,
Commissioner Isbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Meade,
Aye.
and Chairman Stonesucker.
Aye,
Still fails.
motion fails. Yeah,
So it stays.
Right now.
motion fails right now, yeah.
Well, we'll need to revisit it at some point.
I've
Yes,
got a
sir.
question, and I was asked this last week, and I said we'll probably address it, is because if the charter passes, they still want to go back and put in term limits.
Mhm.
So what is going to be the process for that? And that was the
Amending the
question.
charter.
And who amends the charter? Legislative body?
No, it's a process he's got outlined in
Yeah,
here.
there's a,
Okay, because that's what they was asking
Mhm.
for, because they were under the understanding that the legislative body would do that. I said, no, it's laid out.
In fact,
No.
we passed something when we first started on
Right.
this section about what you had to, when the charter could be amended and what it would take.
And it takes a recommendation from the Charter Commission to County Commission, and then County Commission would ask for a referendum, basically.
But not immediately.
Right.
And that's the way I tried to explain it, but I
Yes.
said, watch, because it was a group of people. I said, watch, and you'll hear it explained again.
Right.
I think it's what we passed before,
Mhm.
earlier was 4
Right.
years before it could be amended.
That's not the way you got it in here.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
If-
Well, he didn't get a copy of the motion because I'm the one that brought the
Yeah,
motion to the
I remember
floor.
talking about it. I'll pull up our notes on that.
Okay.
I think those are in the minutes. They're certainly in my notes.
Okay, I'm in on those.
Yeah, because that gives enough time to know what you're actually wanting to change, if you would give it some years,
Mhm.
instead of 3 months later deciding we want it different, we want,
Correct.
push for something different.
Mhm. You know, down in Oak Ridge, every so often, they have, the Charter Commission comes back in and hears from the citizens what they want to see, and they'll vote on it, and then they'll put it on their ballot.
It's really supposed to happen ever so often,
Yes,
according to state law, I
that's
believe.
what I was talking about. every so often, there's a mandatory review.
Yeah, that's right.
But
I think that was 8
when the
years.
motion was made, when I presented it, the motion was made, I think I gave the gavel to Commissioner Smallridge
You did,
to do it.
you did.
And what I based that on was what it takes to change the Constitution of the state of Tennessee.
I remember that. I've got it all.
Okay.
That's no problem at all.
It wasn't,
I'll get you those.
Was that, how long ago was that?
That's
been a
before
cou-
you come on board.
Couple years.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
that was in, May, I guess, of,
Okay.
after our two-year hiatus, May of 2020, something like that.
Yeah. I was gonna say the summer of 2020, but that, it might have been May. I can pull it, it's no problem.
Okay,
Something like
I did not look back that far, apparently. I think so with, the discussion on section 7.05 tabled, I think we can move on to page 30. I think from the February, commission meeting, I think, Joe, you said you had some other things you wanted to find, possibly. I've included a definition for proclamation. That's a draft definition. You can see how you like that, or if you wanted it, it to be changed or anything like that. If you have anything else that you would like to find, I can certainly add that. But that is, that's a change from the February, document that was presented to you all. It now includes the definition for proclamation.
Really, we use, majority of the time resolutions, but, the mayor likes to issue proclamations, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Sure.
And she'll bring them to county commission for them to adopt them. But usually the differentiation is a resolution requires us to do something,
Right.
whereas a proclamation just might be honoring somebody. But if you notice, well, really, Tennessee state law talks about the county commission acts by resolution. But on our resolutions, I'll put in there something that requires us to do, like a date to honor somebody. This is Steve Meade Day or something like that. So, and if the mayor wants to do a proclamation, I don't have a problem with that and present it to the legislative body. But I like what you've done here and define these.
Yeah, and I know you had said multiple times, you know, you want the difference between ordinance, emergency ordinance, resolution, and proclamation.
Yeah.
Very
Mhm.
clear, and so I think that gives us a place to do that.
I've always thought of an ordinance, but I think your definition is broader, but I like it the more I think about it. I've always thought it to be penal or punitive in nature,
Okay.
but I like the way you've got it defined here. I think it'll work. Now, for instance, what is the county budget for the year? Would you put that on an ordinance or a resolution? We've always done them by resolutions, but we've never had the power to adopt ordinances.
Right. I would say probably resolution.
Yeah,
I think John and I had this same discussion
Okay.
today about something else. That
that's another no change from the
If-
way we've been doing
yeah,
business thing.
he seemed to suggest that if something was being done by a resolution, that it probably should continue to be done that
Okay.
way.
And you've got in there ordinance of a permanent nature in its effect.
Yeah.
Okay,
No changes on, page 32, but with, today's discussion, section 8.05 talks about amendments to the charter, so I will go back and review that section to make sure it,
okay, I'll get that to you.
yeah. All right, page 34, section 8.08, conflicts of interest. This section, I casually mentioned as we were finishing up a couple weeks ago that this section still needed to be changed, and this has been done. We've tried to make it, try to draft it both to comport with the County Financial Management System Act's Conflict of Interest statute, and there's another one, Tennessee Code Annotated 12-4101.
Right, that's the general
Sure.
provision.
I think A, B, and C here are trying to codify those two
Right.
statutes. D here, it's talking about the situation where a county legislative body member has is employed by the county or has a spouse who's employed by the county. This one also tracks, I believe, 55112.
Okay,
So they were consolidated here to address that situation.
mm-hmm.
Um,
So you basically codified the provisions in the 81 Financial Management Act and in Title 12.
Correct.
Brought them all together in A,
Correct.
B, C, and D.
I know there was discussion when the first draft of the document was put out that the state law had changed, and
Right.
and we of course didn't know at first that the county financial management system was falling in this county, and so we had to change that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've really tried here to do that, but if you see anything that's inconsistent with how it's being done now,
Okay,
let me know. We can.
that nepotism
Mhm.
section, is that what you're calling it, E?
Well, I'll say I think there was the Anderson County Employee Handbook is where I got
Right.
that language, and I think there's a statute on that 831.
Mhm. The only difference is the HR committee passed a motion that said that the existing issues are grandfathered.
Okay.
There's only maybe 1, 2 left. I'd have to check and see if they're still there, but it's nothing like it used to be.
I think that'd be good if you put that in there for
The grandfather
Grandfather.
provision. Is that what you're
I don't-
saying?
Yes, I don't know of anybody that would affect, I don't know any situations, but,
There may
That's-
just be one.
that's basically the same thing that, when we did the county audit that Commissioner Fritz referred to years ago.
Mhm.
They completed one on the school department, and,
You implemented it.
and we put that in.
Mhm. Agreed. Now, Steve, you've been following the General Assembly. Have you monitored that conflict of interest provision, adjustment to the general law? Is that still in there? Or have they pulled it?
Yes, and the thing that I believe got passed or will get passed is even if you declare early in the game that you had a conflict
Mhm.
and therefore could not vote,
Right.
when it comes to voting on the total budget,
Mhm.
we've always been able to go ahead and vote there, and we can now, but you're still at that point supposed to again say, in spite of the fact that I had a conflict of interest for just the school board budget,
Right.
and because I'm a teacher,
Mhm.
but I will be voting on this,
Mhm.
as allowed under state law or some wording. They got a thing that you're
You might
supposed
want
to
to
say.
look at that
Okay.
new law. I believe it's set to be passed, so that may adjust some of this.
And those laws have been such a moving target, it seems like.
Well, they adjust them every couple of years.
Yeah, every couple of years they change. I think we need to have something in the charter that says in accordance with the current state
Mhm.
law in order to conform or comply with current state law or somewhere to that effect.
I like what he's saying there, if you just include that.
Because regardless, we have to comply with state law,
Right.
you know? And it's been run at a state level more and more lately, because every time they do a change, it seems like the state takes more control of it. I remember it wasn't long ago, you could just say, I have a complete conflict here, but trust me, I'm gonna vote the right way anyhow.
Mhm.
And
I will
people
vote my
decide they don't like
conscience.
that.
Okay,
Subsection F, that was previously in the charter, the rearranging. There is one change that I see now has to be made about midway through. Whereas it was section 808G, it's now F. I'll make that change. But that's also almost verbatim out of the Anderson County Code of Ethics, which was, it was already in there prior to, but that has been done.
okay.
I guess substantively, section 810, unless you want to talk about 809, bonding of officers and employees, there are a couple of comments there. The county has a blanket bond. I don't know if the county
Is that-
blanket bond covers.
It looks like it's permissive at first, and then it's mandatory. It says may provide, comma, shall give bond.
Yeah, so the mayor, as the legislative body, may provide, shall give bond in the amount, yeah. So it's up to the
Okay.
the legislative
As
body. I don't know.
some of them are required by state law, but, we, as an act of discretion, cover everyone under a blanket bond. But the amounts, I think, are still set by statute for a lot of the, fee office heads. And now there's this new provision, I think I talked about it before, where the insurance company can lay down a blanket bond. And we've done that the past one time. So we cover everybody
Right.
under a bond. But that's discretionary on our part.
Okay. Section 810, there was some discussion from the February meeting about subsection B being a little bit too harsh. If a lawyer is employed or elected in the county, if that lawyer is suspended or barred from the practice of law in the state of Tennessee, that they shall forfeit that office immediately and not hold office or be reemployed during the term of the suspension or disbarment.
I think I was probably talking about that.
Yeah.
I hate for it to be something like a CLE or failure to pay dues on time or something like that, where it's immediately corrected the next day. That's my concern. I don't have any problem with somebody violating the rules of professional conduct.
Well, we already have a method to handle that. 2/3 vote by the legal advisory committee and the commission.
Right.
For
but
anything we
he's talking
deem-
about all lawyers
Yeah.
that are employed.
Oh, okay.
I think it needs to exempt administrative type suspensions. If you follow any of that on Tennessee Bar Association, they amend that list almost daily. Come dues time or CLE time, we recently had a lawyer here in our county that was charged criminally with a strange statute that I didn't even know existed. But I can see that he corrected it immediately, but that was a criminal act. And I think you'd be subject to losing your job at that point. That's non-administrative, that's an actual criminal act.
Is this a change?
Mhm. Now, the way it is now, under the Board of Professional Responsibility rules, once you're suspended or disbarred, if you're suspended, you have to send a letter to every client that you had and say, look, I'm suspended, I can't take any legal work, but it cures it till the end of the, as long as you don't provide legal advice to these people, it cures it to the end of the suspension. But here, you're forfeiting the office. It would apply to any lawyer employed by the county. Now, we do have, I think, 2 situations where we've got people that are actually lawyers working for the county, but they're not working in a lawyer capacity, which is interesting dilemma there.
Delinquent tax attorney would be an example of something. Don't they work for the?
Well, they're doing legal work. That's a legal capacity. These are
Clerk
people.
master would be another one, wouldn't it?
Well, that's a legal capacity.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is they choose on their own, even with a law degree and admission to the bar, that they don't want to be a lawyer. They just come to work and do a job. And that, even though that sounds weird, there is people in county government that do that. Or they get tired of it and just say, hey, you know, I'm going to take another job.
So we need to make a decision to either leave it or take it out. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't have any problem as long as it's adjusted there.
Sure.
I think losing your job on an admin suspension for
Yeah, well,
not paying your bar dues or a couple
late.
days late,
yeah.
or your CLE is 1 hour short, and you can fix that by taking an online course in a couple of hours. I would hate to see that part. That's a very stiff penalty for a minor problem. You want to adjust that
Yeah.
language and bring
Yeah,
it back?
We've looked for some sort of language to try to find something to pin it to. Like, I like that language you're suggesting, the administrative type suspensions where it's not, it's a mishap, it's a fluke, it's a
You
something
may
like
have
that.
to define that,
Yeah.
because I can see somebody arguing, a criminal act could be an administrative act.
Yeah.
So you might have to define that.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. And
I think the BPR actually has a designation there.
okay,
You might want to check that first.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Annette, you with us? Okay. Well, we're at 8.11.
Yes, sir.
Everybody caught up? Any questions so far? Okay.
From the February meeting, there was discussion about ex officio members
Mhm.
being, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, different or understood differently in Anderson County than it would be, say, in Black's Law Dictionary. If
Right.
That's,
Ex officio,
right.
the way it's been here for years, is a non-voting member.
Mhm.
Okay. I think Blacks would define it as a position you hold by virtue of your office.
Right. I have a query there in the bubble, if it would resolve this issue if we defined ex officio to
Mhm.
mean by virtue of the office and not non-voting members, so as to permit, because I know there was discussion that some non-voting members were actually on county boards, commissions, authorities.
Mhm.
But if it was defined differently to the dictionary definition, would that resolve?
Now, that would be different. Are y'all following what he's saying? He's saying that he would define ex officio, but the definition will be more along the lines of a legal dictionary definition. The way it operates here ex officio is a non-voting member. So if you want to leave that ex officio by virtue of the office, but non-voting on whatever that committee is, that would take care of the way it is now.
But the intention for defining that term there was to keep it as is, in that non-voting members, correct me if I'm wrong, were on boards and county commissions and authorities that do receive compensation on those boards.
Well,
Was that, I thought that was what was,
Well, none of us
Right.
actually gets paid serving on the board. I mean, other than what little bit we get paid being a commissioner, but serving on various committees and boards and things like that, we don't get paid extra for.
And we have a load of citizen volunteers
I may,
on our boards, and I don't think they get paid. Some of them are allowed to put in reimbursement for monies they spent on their own. When we created the Water Authority, they're not part of us anymore. They get paid. Go ahead, did you want to add to that, BL?
well, I believe the commission sets their rules. And the parliamentarian might want to correct me here, but I believe in the Robert's Rules of Order that it mentions ex officio members and what they can and can't do.
We check that in Robert's rules. Okay.
so,
Like, there's a
Is-
statute in Tennessee that says the county mayor serves as ex officio on all boards and committees. Now, I don't think Terry votes on those, but she serves as an ex officio.
Can comment and be involved in
Right.
discussion. Yeah.
That's like, that's the way we've always dealt with it. They come in, comment, like I'm ex officio on a couple of boards, and I'm not there to vote.
is there a problem with the language that stating that you will not be compensated as an ex officio member?
I don't think that makes the distinction, does it? I mean, most of these boards and committees are uncompensated themselves. The whole membership is.
Yeah.
The only commission that we've got that is compensated, and that's nominal, is county commission.
Yeah, we just do it for the money.
Yeah. Can y'all think of any other committee that gets a paycheck? I can't right off the top of my head think of anyone.
Okay. I must have,
Well, school board gets paid something too.
Yeah, but
It's different than us though. I thought it was the same as us, but I understand it's not.
that's,
So-
doesn't make the distinction.
I think there's a law though on the school board, Steve, that's getting ready to make it the same as commission.
Is there?
I mean, I don't think it's passed yet.
Mm-hmm.
I have it here in Robert's Rules of Order.
Good. Thank you, Bill.
113, 114, explains ex officio. So if the commission adopts Robert's Rules of Order as the rules, and this body did when we first met, then you'd have that to go by, and we wouldn't need the,
sure, the definition.
It's a good point. And the county commission has done that, and
yes.
this body has done that.
So, I'm sorry, so I can have it clear, is what we're saying here, this provision is not even necessary because there is no compensation for other, okay.
Mm-mm. No, unless you want to, you were talking about a definition,
Right.
you know, of ex officio. You would, probably need to keep it somewhat in line with Robert's Rules of Order,
Right.
because we allow county commission to, set their rules, and their rules say Robert's Rules of Order as the
Yeah.
default.
But then further with our meeting rules, we can also make it different than Robert's rules. We've done that too in our,
You can override
we
your,
say accept in this case.
yeah, it takes a vote to do that. Yeah, you could correct it pretty quick by just cutting that ex officio out
Okay.
right there, because we're already handling by virtue of the adoption of county commission rules.
Got it.
You know, we missed something that we really need to talk about back on page 33. The charter review committee and how many people and.
Well, that's, I've got a section on that we already pinned the night,
Was that
BL, made that motion. We went back and I've got that. So I told you I'd bring that, or I'd give it to Gavin so he can incorporate it, and it addresses all that.
I mean, it's gonna be a minimum of about 10, because it says one,
Just don't even worry about this right now.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
We're gonna go with what we voted on earlier, unless you wanna change it after, because we've already got a vote covering this.
We might need to come back to it.
We might. Okay, where you at?
I'm on, with that resolved, I'm on page 37, section 8.15, 8.15. There was a subsection A and B there. One of them allowed for the county to set up a hospital. I think it was a nonprofit. There was in the minutes, I think there was a motion to delete that, and it was, or discussion at least, to delete it, and or not the nonprofit, but the hospital, and so it was deleted. Section 8.19.
But excuse me, but I think there's a state statute that allows them, the county to do that.
I'm not familiar with that, but I will.
Seems
look it
like
up.
I've seen that, Gavin. I don't want to conflict with state statute.
Yeah,
Not that I think we're ever going to have a county
Yeah,
hospital run by the county, but
yeah,
there is a state statute.
okay.
Hey, the way this is worded is the county may.
Mhm.
And a may is always followed with, you have to meet some kind of requirements, and usually that's state law.
And that's how it was previously in there under A, for the hospital to be set up, it was May. Let me find I think it's in the minutes. It might be just from my notes.
Mr. Chairman, once before on county commission, we had an issue come up and we voted on it. We just wanted to put like a rehab clinic in a residential section. I think that'd be covered on our planning and zoning the way we're doing that now.
It
but
is.
How would that fit into this right here?
The only time this kicks in is if the county is operating it through a nonprofit. That's the way I read it.
If I may.
Go ahead.
um,
The county may act through a nonprofit corporation.
Subsection A did state, the county may acquire, construct, equip, extend, repair, maintain, excuse me, and manage or contract for management and operate or cause to be operated through contract hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes and other extended care facilities owned, supported, and controlled by the county. I think it was,
What Commissioner Isbell's talking about is when a private facility comes out here, non-county related, and that's controlled by our zoning resolution.
okay.
And I know in budget committee hearing, I think last week, whenever it was, they talked about having that mental health facility or putting money towards that, so that would fall under this.
Yeah.
Because,
We
Okay.
could very well. I don't know if just making a donation would catch it. But here, this is talking about the county doing something through a nonprofit along those lines.
I think Steve made a good, Commissioner Mead made a good point with the use of the word may.
Mm-hmm.
It's not shall.
Oh, of course.
May.
We're not going to say that the county's got to open a clinic or a hospital. That's why I wanted him to look at state law, because I'm pretty sure there's a provision that allows us to do that, because there is counties that have public hospitals that are operated by the county through a nonprofit agency. There's a few of them still left, but I don't want people at home to think this charter says we're going to operate a county hospital,
No.
because that's just not going to happen in any of our lifetimes right now.
Okay,
That's a huge expense.
in the comment that's here, it says, a section allowing the county to set up a hospital is deleted per request.
Mhm.
But in the thing, it still says hospitals. We may act through nonprofit, through contract, hospitals, clinics, and other nursing homes and other extended care facilities. So hospitals is still in there, although this note says that the authority to run a hospital was deleted. That's why I'm confused. So do we intend to say that we may run a hospital, or that we're not?
Why don't you check that state statute
Yeah, I'll
first?
check the state statute. Like I said,
Yep.
there was some discussion about the problems with A, and so that was deleted, but this was kind of maintained, and I
I
can
think
go back
that's
and check
exactly what
that.
happened. You had it in that top section,
Mhm.
scratched it, and then you just didn't check that.
Okay.
That went through the edits.
Sure.
But let's look at that state statute first.
Yeah, we may not need it.
Right. Everybody okay up through 815?
Section 8.17, there are a few minor things there. The word official was deleted. The point being, all meetings are official meetings. That was
Right.
per request from the February meeting. Section 8.18 was just changed to more align with the numbers. Section 8.19 provides for county audits. I know that there were some concerns with the original draft of the charter that was put forward. It provided for the county to be able to hire its own accountants and CPAs to audit the county annually. This provision maintains that the audits will be done by the state comptroller's office. John seems to think that doesn't need to be explicitly stated as a provision in the charter. In other words, if we just remove it from where it was, then it will remain as it is.
Mhm.
But you could put in there, the records accounts will continue to be audited by the state comptroller's office, provided, however, that, if the county legislative body decides it can have independent audit counsel, that would be permissive, but it would maintain the status quo. So that's really up to you all on that. I just wanted to get it out there that we've gotten rid of it as mandatory as was originally
That's good.
drafted.
I like what he said there. I mean, do we need to include that?
No, I think it's great that we always have an audit section in there. It's required by law. But the way it shakes out is that law allowed us to hire a private CPA to audit our records, or the state comptroller.
Okay.
Well, the provision is that in the law, that if you opted for a private CPA firm or accounting firm to audit your records, you had to get approval from the state comptroller. Well, what happened after that is the comptroller quit giving approvals, except for some very large counties. And so we've always gone with since then, always gone with state comptroller, and it's worked out great because our finance director, or even before our council and budget director, always had a good relationship and could call at any time. And that's what happens now. If Robbie has a question, he can call the comptroller's office over here in Knoxville and get an answer within minutes. And we don't have to pay by the hour. So that's really good for us. And we use them quite frequently just for advice. And they're on top of our records all the time. It's like they know where we're at constantly. And it's when they come in here, it's a very easy audit. And we know areas that we need to improve, and they'll make comments, but they're over here all the time.
Oh, I agree.
The audits are easy because they talk to them all the time.
And we got it all in line.
Yeah, so
Sure.
so it's not that it's an easy audit, they still do
Oh,
a
it's-
pretty good audit. but
It's
they
very
already know
thorough,
us.
don't get me wrong, it's
Yeah.
very thorough, but they know the state of our accounts
Yeah.
a lot better than trying to explain it to somebody.
This doesn't preclude if you felt like you needed a private audit.
No, and
'Cause I know back-
that's the beauty of, because we have hired outside CPA firms to come in here and do smaller audits. And years ago, we hired firms to do the entire county.
But this wouldn't limit that, would it?
Yeah, this would, but what Gavin was talking about is maybe just eliminating that and allow, the county commission the ability to, if they needed an outside
There will
audit.
be an annual audit.
Exactly, be as simple as that, there will be an annual audit.
This goes
Because
way,
this kind of requires the comptroller's office to do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, I don't think anything requires them to do it now, that's just what they wanted to do for a long time.
Mhm.
I don't think there's a state statute that says that the comptroller will do the audit of each county every year.
No, unless it's changed,
It just
Recently,
allows
it's-
them to do it.
Right.
And that's how they've decided to do it, but this kind of says that the only way we can do it, so they called and said, well, we're not doing it this year, you're gonna have to get somebody else. We would be in violation of the charter.
Well, so, yeah, two ways, either get rid of it or have something as simple as, there will be an audit, or have a special provision, but I kind of lean toward the former, with you on that.
okay.
this goes way back, but
Mhm.
there was a time
I was gonna say, Bob,
way,
I bet you
way
remember
back
this.
when the comptroller was so far behind in their audits that Oak Ridge I know Oak Ridge for one, made a decision to go with
Mhm.
private because they were so late in getting
Right.
the audits ready. But that isn't true, I guess, recently from what you all are saying.
You never know, that situation could arise, and I think the point is you need flexibility for county commission to, or a special project that they want audited.
Right.
I think if you did put something in there, I would put it mandatory, we have to have a yearly audit by a firm or selected by the county commission, or keep it with the general law on that.
Well, we don't want to put something in there that, if the county commission fails to act by a certified date that they're tied to.
No, I don't like
You know,
that.
and the other thing is that, if the comptroller's office wants to audit a county, a system, or whatever, they'll do it,
Absolutely.
whether we approve it or not.
Oh, of course. They do investigative audits. Yeah, we see
Sure.
that all the time. They'll put them on their homepage.
So what we need to do,
You want to try to
Anything?
draft a provision to bring it back?
Yeah, I'll try to draft it to make it more permissive and.
Okay.
and
I just marked
Flexible.
this, I said, the records and accounts and evidence of financial transactions of the county shall continue to be audited in accordance with, annually, each year, or annually, in accordance with general law.
That probably would work.
Just leave out the requirement that it be the Tennessee Department, Tennessee State.
it's called a local government audit, or county audit for us, under the comptroller's office.
Okay. Section 8.20, that's just the embodiment of the County Uniform Highway Law, the Private Act. So that is included. That has to be, that's a statute. The statute itself says that a county adopting a charter has to specifically adopt that.
Exactly.
So that's provided for. An interesting one is the next section, section 8.21,
Mhm.
the County Financial Management System of 1981. So I talked with John and Sarah about this, and he seemed fine with including it as it is there, allowing it to be changed by ordinance. We didn't specify ordinance, but as may further be amended by the legislative body there. So that brings the county financial management system into the charter, where it maintains the status quo of Anderson County government, in addition to deleting sections of Article 3, which seem to conflict with the county financial management system.
If,
It gives the legislative body the right
right,
to
Correct.
do it. As long as that's in there, I'm fine.
You know, the budget committee's still doing their thing, yeah.
yeah, but you understand if, it's always county commission's discretion whether or not they wanna go to another one of the optional laws or default law, or you can even do a private act on, physical management. But if we were to go with anything other than the 81 Act, there's a lot of amendments that are gonna need to be made to this charter.
Well, it seems
Whole
like
lot.
things gone a lot smoother and easier since we've
Oh,
gone from the 57 to the 81.
There's no doubt, I think it works very, very well. I really like the finance committee and how that's really the oversight with the schools and the highway and the commission and the mayor all on there. I really like the budget process, how it's been working under this. We start sooner, we have a decision sooner, and it's really, by the time it comes from the budget committee, it's ready to be adopted.
Well, see, under 57, you had 3 commissioners on the budget committee. And now under 81, you got 8 commissioners on the budget
Mhm.
committee. So you got 8 commissioners working on the budget that you present to the full commission. And you need 9 votes, so I mean.
It's
But this section does essentially require that if we decided to go away from the 81 Act, it requires a charter change.
Oh.
A charter revision.
maybe not just, well, yes, but there's gonna be a lot of other, my point is that there's gonna be a lot of other changes depending on what you go to.
Oh, yeah, then incorporating whatever you.
Sure. It wouldn't be just one paragraph or one section, there'd be numerous sections that would need to be amended to conform with whatever law you decide to go with.
Well, could something be put in the charter to say that the commission could change the budget process without having to change the charter?
It says that, doesn't it? Did I not read it right?
Further amended by the legislative body. He added that to it.
I mean, I don't see that happening anytime soon, but it gives,
Mhm.
Is that not what it says here?
Yes, that is my understanding of what
Okay.
it says. The problem is, if anything was to go, if the county ever decided to, like Jay mentioned, if it ever decided to go to another act, like the 2030 Act or something like that, then this would have to be changed.
Or do something like Chuck is saying, maybe further amended or deleted, and another one adopted. What, I think, correct me, Chuck, if I'm getting this wrong, he wants the county legislative body to have the option to change without going through a charter amendment.
that's correct.
Okay, he's basically, what he's reciting is state law now. That the counties can opt to go with a private act, the default set of statutes, or any of the 3 optional fiscal management acts. Is that something everyone would like to see, is county commission still retains the ability to change?
If it can be done, because if we put it in the charter, can it be done?
By state statute, right?
The problem is it's not just this section. You know, you're gonna, if depending on what you adopt, there's gonna be a lot of other changes.
Well, that's right.
There may be different offices, and there wouldn't be
Sure.
Well,
necessarily a finance director.
the 81 Act is in a lot of other things that we talked about
Oh, it's all
tonight.
through here.
It's throughout, so I guess we're obligated then, aren't we?
It'd be a very difficult process.
Although if there was a new act that we decided to go to, I'm willing to bet it's gonna have a lot of similarities. We need to have some advantage that we want to take advantage of.
I know, but the issue becomes, are you gonna have to go back and amend this charter to go to another local optional? Or do you allow the legislative body to pick which one it wants to go with?
So
The
what
way
I was
it is
looking
in
at is what, trying
Tennessee
to have to
Council
void,
is-
put it back out for vote again, you know?
Right.
Just because we see a better way to do it maybe in the future, you know? I mean, you know, in the future, maybe 20 years from now or something, you know,
Sure.
something
I
better's
understand.
gonna come
I
out.
understand exactly what you're saying. Can you see if you can add some flexibility there, and then we'll approach it next time on that?
Are we saying we can amend, the commission can amend the Financial Management Act
Yes.
of 1981?
No, we can't amend it. We can decide if we adopt it or not.
Yeah, this sounds almost, if you read it,
It can be amended. What you can do, like it may be amended at the state level, and I think that's what he's trying to do with, second to the last sentence there, as amended from time to time by the General Assembly kind of amendment. But at the local level, you can adopt policies. And that's what we've done for our purchasing program. The Finance Committee develops policies, then they're adopted by the county commission. It's not, some may think that's an amendment, but it's really adoption of policies.
Okay, then this doesn't require a charter change, the way it's written. What about it, Gavin?
Well, it would if you wanted to add flexibility, you would need to put it in here. Because it's basically confining you to the 81 Act here.
my concern or question is, seems like it could be misread to thinking we could actually amend the,
I understand. Mhm. We can adopt policies, but we can't amend that law.
Which would make it confusing to the people that's voting on this.
Yeah.
that's my point, yeah.
So maybe that second
Yeah, I
one
can
needs to
find
get.
some better language
Mhm.
and then amend.
Right. We can't actually amend the legislation, but we can
Or I didn't.
adopt policies that are not in conflict with the legislation.
Okay.
But if you're trying to accomplish what Chuck is saying, to give the county legislative body the flexibility to adopt a different financial management act, then this section would need to be modified to put
We'd
a,
have to include something and make appropriate changes to the charter. Or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, can you do that in the charter?
well, you could do it, but what you're saying, you may have to come back to, and you won't know this until you adopt
Yeah.
whichever optional program,
See what's
or you do a
different.
private act.
Yeah,
You
see
wouldn't
if
know
there's
it,
conflict or not.
but you'll probably have charter amendments that would have to come, because this is set up for the 81 Act. he's gonna try to come back with a paragraph, a draft paragraph that adds flexibility to this. If you don't like it, then we won't vote it in. If you just wanna, leave it strictly the 81 Act, then we'll take out that second amendment there and put something about creation of policies.
Sure.
Even if we didn't mention the 81 Act by name, if we adopted a new and different financial act, it's gonna have impact on the charter regardless.
Of course. That's why I was saying that you don't know until you
I don't think
adopt
there's any
which
way to
one
avoid
that
that.
agrees.
That's just one of the things that comes.
You might go with a hybrid system by private act that still keeps a finance committee, still
Yeah.
keeps a finance director, but has a few different changes. You just don't know the degree of change until you adopt something. And you have to go back through at that time and make some changes.
That's what we get for having all this flexibility.
The other side is, I think, weighs heavy and is good. All right, anything else? You got your,
Gavin's finished.
I believe so, yes, sir.
all
Other
right,
than the transition provisions, which is generally, I think those are in the charter statutes.
okay, we've got,
There are no
I
changes
have a
there.
question.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 8 signature lines. Suppose we have a charter member, a commissioner that says they don't approve of this and they voted in the final vote not to adopt this charter. And they say, I'm not gonna sign this. Could just the ones that voted for it sign? Because the statement here says hereby approve and respectfully present. Because if we have one or more commissioners that
Sure.
vote no, that they're strict hardliners, they want to stay exactly the way we've got it now with no changes, then they're not going to want to sign this. Unless you say we have done our duty under the charter laws, something like that, without expressly saying you know,
That it's
we
approved. Right, yeah, that's a good point. I don't have an answer. I'm not familiar with any instance where it's not been signed, but I'll take a look at it, and I kind of agree that.
If it
If
can
it's
happen,
not-
it's
yeah.
going to happen.
Saying that we're certifying the legal,
Obligation
you
to
know, well,
put forward
that it was passed legally in accordance with the law,
sure.
not that we're each
We're
one
satisfying
certifying
our
that we
duties or
like every
something.
bit of it.
Okay, do you want me to go through these private acts, Mr. Chairman? Or do you want, to do it next time? It's up to you.
Do you have, how
I've got
long
all
you
the
think
time
it'll
you need.
take?
How much time?
How long you think it'll take?
Hour.
We'd be meeting again, what, the 21st?
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Uh,
Tuesday after next?
No, the third,
Wednesday.
the third
Thursday,
Wednesday.
I'm sorry.
Wednesday, I thought we said.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Third
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Third Wednesday, yeah.
Third Wednesday, okay.
And what date is that then?
That's after county commission.
I think
That'd
that's the
be
20th.
April the 20th?
That sounds right.
The game starts at 9, so.
I
You
was-
know, this document you gave us, a lot of it says, these are things for historical notes.
I think
Right.
You know, and these things are no longer,
They've been superseded
they've
or
been
repealed.
superseded or repealed, or, but they still, you still wanna have a record of what you did, so
Right.
that still will be kept. But I don't see that, that's not a requirement of a charter.
No,
The
what-
charter would have to mention those I think, those things that are clearly applicable
That's what the way.
and intended to be applicable
Yeah,
under the
we
charter.
would go through and say, these are still in effect, was the question.
The other question I have is if one of these provisions was repealed or changed, does that mean we also have to change the charter at that time?
No, you put in there something like at this time.
Yeah,
Quote
yeah.
that language under
Are
that one
currently-
statute
Yeah, are
Section
currently
1.
effective,
at the time of effect
yeah.
of this chart. You don't wanna force your hand into a corner that you can't change, and, but what it would say is these are currently in effect at the time of the passage of this chart or something like that.
You know, I really believe that we'll have at least 2 more members here at, I think Mr. Isabel was right. If we got more members, why?
Yeah,
Unless you think it's imperative we do it tonight.
not at all, and, just, we can go through this quickly next time if everybody has kind of reviewed it.
I've reviewed it.
It doesn't take long, just, most of this stuff is historical data. Yeah.
And there'd be availability of people that are not here to watch the video of this, too, as well. They
There's-
can watch the
there's a
video of this
couple-
discussion. we
There's
had
one
tonight.
that's controversial. We've tried twice to allow fireworks in this county. So if you don't put this in here, that's immediately makes fireworks lawful. So just remember that. But if you want to keep the prohibition on fireworks, we need to state that this is one of the ones that's still in effect. There's a couple of them in here that are, Tracy asked me to find the authority on the, veteran service officer. And there's a private act on the veteran service officer, but it appears we've been following state law on that.
Yeah.
There's 3 code sections on the state law.
Well, there's 2 specific ones that I pulled up here. One of them's a 2015,
09 to 11.
and one of them 2015, but 2015 was the date that it was last amended. And then the other one's a 2004.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, you talk about 09 through,
yeah,
So-
well, it's the 58-3, 109, and
I
111.
think,
You know, there comes a time
those
when,
are some of the, those examples that we're gonna have to look at. and
right,
spend some
but,
time with.
but sometimes, you know, we think we want laws, and we get a lot of different laws and rules and things, and, you make it really hard on the people that have to enforce them.
Oh, it's,
And fireworks is one of them.
It's never been enforced, ever.
And everybody, and me included, in years past, you know, to shoot the things, and the thought is, they can't arrest all of us.
Well, I tried real hard to get rid of that thing, okay, that didn't quite make it when it came back to us. It passed and was signed by the governor to get rid of it.
But I mean, it sounds funny, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
well,
when
my
I'm
point was
opposed
to not start a discussion on fireworks, is,
Yeah.
there's a couple areas that we'll need to spend some time, on. That's it. That's all.
What other, any other areas, Jay?
Oh, yeah, that's what
I
I
mean,
was saying.
that you want us to focus on, I mean, there's,
No, just
No.
go through it and just be prepared, and if everybody's on the same sheet, then I can move through these in maybe
Yeah.
45 minutes. And,
Quick review what we did tonight and that.
Right.
Now, we still looking at the August or November?
that's up to this body, and I think
August.
you're getting, I think it's May 22nd, so we'll have to move quickly here.
I'm concerned about the May election, it's gotta be August or November now, right? It has to be
Yeah, it has to be
a
August or
state or
November.
federal general
Right.
election.
Yeah.
I reckon my biggest question is how, or, you know, because knowing how,
that's,
I mean, we put it on Channel 95, and we send flyers out, we do this, that, and the other, and we have special meetings, and this broadcasts on TV all the time, but the biggest complaint is, we don't know what's going on. We never, everything's, you know, potentially closed door type stuff, but how in the world are we gonna let every registered voter know what's covered in all these pages here, So they know, when they go to the poll, they say yay or nay, what they're voting on.
The only thing we can do is attempt to educate them the best we can. It's like any voter.
Yeah.
Some voters go to the polls educated, they look at the candidates and say, I like that person, I don't care what party he's in, I like that person. Other people go there and say, I'm gonna vote straight ticket. And I might not know this person, never heard of him, never heard the name, and, but there is a requirement that we have to educate the public, and I think that's a great requirement here, because so many people will not know what's in here. So any mechanism we can think of, whether it's Channel 95 or doing a mailer, we need to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how we
Chuck,
let them know.
When John and Gavin first came here and we talked about it, and we talked about a simple flyer that would explain any changes.
That's right,
That's right.
with the idea there wasn't gonna be a lot of
And
change.
that was,
That's right.
right.
Because you know, the people who are for it is going to say, yeah, go vote for it. But you're going to have a select few out there who are against it. Is going to go out there and pick out little tiny things here and there and really try to put out the negative on it.
Well,
And
it's our job to explain the changes
and
and not to
always,
tell them how to vote.
the false stuff that you all the time hear, simply don't not the truth behind things.
Yeah, that's the government in general,
Yeah. Before we
not
get,
just Anderson County.
before we get to any other item on the agenda, I noticed we had, that Commissioner Wandell came in. Is there anything you'd like to?
Oh, no, sir, I was
Say
here for
this.
Veterans Committee, and I thought I'd pop up here and see what's going on.
Well, that's great. We're glad to have you, but if you need,
We can just appoint him to one of these positions,
Yeah.
think he's
Well,
available.
that would give us two, we don't want to do that.
well, y'all have anything else?
Well, we mentioned earlier that you may take a vote on all the changes that she's been writing down. Do you want to vote or just areas discussed?
Yeah, just, I think we need areas to discuss and have a bigger.
That would
group here.
satisfy Commissioner Meade
And then the vote will come,
later.
we'll have two votes, yeah.
Okay.
You said,
Is it all right with you? You just put areas discussed or issues discussed, whatever.
that'd simplify it, wouldn't it, Annette?
Yes.
And
Any old business?
we'll need you next time. I
Can
don't
we
know.
find anything about,
But certainly the next time.
Yeah.
potential change of members?
I made the phone call, and there's been some illness, and, serious illness, and, I really believe that, if nothing else happens, he'll be here the third Wednesday. Good, had a great
Because if
discussion.
he'd actually made a decision that he wasn't coming back anymore, I thought we needed to discuss,
Great,
take action.
had a great
Good.
great discussion with him.
Good, glad to hear that.
He's still the person we think he is. So, any new business? Motion to adjourn is in order.
We adjourn.
So moved.
Hearing no comments? Meeting adjourned.
Be better paid, as I say.